In last week's Sharp Saturday video, we took a look at a defensive knife which was admittedly pretty pricey. Had several people say that was more than they could afford to spend. So today we're going to take a look at a defensive knife which is significantly less expensive at under 30 bucks. This one is the SOG Nightshade, and that's what's coming up next here on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name's Brian. Thanks for joining me for another Sharp Saturday video where it's Saturday and we take a look at something sharp. Like I said today, that something sharp is this SOG Nightshade dagger, and we're going to take a look at this, put it through our testing process and see how well it does. It would fare as a defensive knife as well. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, as usual, today's words of wisdom from the Bible. Today's wisdom is from Proverbs 10 verse 12 in the New Living Translation. Hatred stirs up quarrels, but love makes up for all offenses. Like I often say, that's just good wisdom no matter what book it comes from. And also I'd like to say a big thank you to my friends at Hog Holsters for sponsoring today's video. Hog Holsters makes a holster that I've been wearing every day for several years. I'm wearing one right now. Every Hog holster is lovingly handcrafted one at a time, model specific to fit your gun, no one size fits all, in Arizona using 100% US made materials down to the very screws. Hog Holsters is a proud American company owned by a Marine Corps veteran. Hog Holsters is helping Americans wear guns. And if you look in the video description below, there'll be a link to survivalonpurpose.com/sponsors. If you go over there, there'll be a little coupon code for you. So thanks again to Hog Holsters for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get down to the old stump top and take a look at this knife, talk about the specs of it, talk about how well it might function as a defensive knife, and do a little bit of scientific testing. Might even have to balance test this sucker, we'll see. All right, here's the SOG Nightshade knife. This knife has a 9-inch overall length with a 4 3/4 inch by 0.15 inch thick double-edged blade of black oxide finished 420 steel. It has a textured glass reinforced nylon handle with a sleeved lanyard hole, weighs 7.3 ounces. It's a classic dagger design with a double edge and a finger guard. The Nightshade comes with a very basic nylon sheath. It's got a little plastic liner inside, and if you're really careful, you can get it inside the liner and push it all the way in. Then it has a snap retention here. There's just a sewn belt loop, 3 rivets on side, and a little lashing hole at the bottom. One thing I will say is the sheath leaves a little to be desired. First time I tried to put the knife in, the little plastic things, I don't know if you can see them in there because of the lighting, but they were just closed together and the knife actually went in behind them instead of in between the two little sheets that are made together, and came out, I'll show you if I can do it without cutting my hand off, and came out the back of the sheath right here. Not the greatest sheath in the world, but it gets the job done. But it has a couple of shortcomings we'll talk about in just a minute. So that being said, you know, this is not a bushcraft or woodcraft knife, so we're not going to do some of that, you know, different knife stuff that we would do on a outdoor knife. This is a dagger. It's double-edged. It's designed to be a defensive or offensive weapon. So we're going to look at it in those lights. So first of all, if you can get over here, we can see it. Maybe just the design in general, I like. It's a very, very classic take. It's almost like a Faber and Sykes dagger, just kind of compact and small. I wear a medium gloves and it fits my hand with just a little bit of the hilt coming out. It's got nice finger guards on both sides. It is double-edged with a fuller in the middle. And so usually double-edged knives like that, you know, their thickness being in the middle, it gives you a lot less distance from the thickest part to come down to the edge. So they don't usually fare as well on keeping super, super sharp, but we're going to check this one out. This one is made in China, by the way, and the MSRP on this is 30 bucks. It's on Amazon for right now, at least the time of this video, for about $29. And Midway USA has it right now, as of today, for $18.60. So I'll put some links in the video description below for that. So I will also mention that many of the sites call this a boot knife, but I think that's just because of the design of it. It's certainly not a boot sheath. This is a belt sheath, an outside the waistband belt sheath. Potentially, if you wanted to wear it inside the waistband, you might could fold this over, put your belt through here, and then it would be connected like so. But then you got to be really careful because the sheath is not, like I said, it's not the greatest in the world. But we can do a little bit of science and see how well this thing passes the redneck sharp test. You want to? So here's our testing medium. We'll try to get it in the light where you can see it. And is that okay? We'll see if this thing will shave anything, any of that higher there. And oh, baby, okay. That side shaves. How about this side? Okay. It's it's not the greatest, but it did shave some hair. We'll give this one a 3.9 on the redneck sharpness test because it shaved pretty good for what it is, but it definitely wasn't quite like, hair splitting sharp, but it did scrape some hair off the old testing medium there. So we'll get ready to do a little more scientific testing, and we'll talk a little bit more about this thing, and then we'll probably going to need to test the balance on this one. I think we should, don't you? Okay, I feel like the light was really not giving you a good look at this knife, so I want to kind of bring it out here in the light for you. Maybe you can see it a little better. So there's the handle, and then the blade. It is extremely, it's a focus grasshopper, extremely pointy there, and the grind is pretty dadgum even. I got to say that. So you can see it says it's 420 made in China, but altogether the quality control seems pretty good on this knife. Like I said, it feels good in my medium-sized hand. Very, very well balanced feeling, but we need to get a little scientific on that, don't you think? Okay, so let's talk about the pros and cons of this SOG as a defensive/fighting knife. So first of all, the pros. It's very, very, very comfortable in your hand. It's double-edged, so you don't have to worry about how it's oriented in your hand. It's going to cut fine or stab fine either way. It's got some nice finger guards here. Very comfortable, very well-shaped handle, whether you're holding it like this with a flat grip, whether you're holding it with a straight grip, or whether you're holding it with a reverse grip. It actually feels really good either way. It's got a flat pommel on it, so you get your thumb on there for a good reverse grip. It is extremely pointy, and it's got a long enough blade to reach deep into vital organs if you needed to go that aggressively to stop an attack. The grind is really very even on it. The quality control seems really good, and like I said, it just feels really good in my hand anyway. And I wear a medium glove, so even if you have bigger hands, it's probably still going to give you just enough grip to deal with things. Now let's talk about the cons. The biggest con for me is the sheath. The sheath is not only pretty cheesy, it's just a plain nylon little sheath, but then the liner inside of it, let me see if I can give you a close-up of that where you can see it, maybe see it. You see that inside there, a little liner in there? I don't know if you can see it because of the light or not, but I got it pooched out now. Pooched out, that's a technical term, where the knife will go in there. And then you still got to kind of mess with it to get it all the way down. But if you're not really careful, it'll slide right in here too. And as I showed you, can penetrate right completely through the sheath like that. And that's not what you want to happen. So to start with, just the quality of the sheath is not great in my opinion. Secondly, if you're going to carry this thing for defensive purposes, then probably want to carry it concealed. And typically that's going to be inside the waistband, but so the only way I can think of to do it inside the waistband is to fold this loop over like so. Put the knife inside your waistband like so. We'll do that. Then run your belt through that loop that way. So basically your belt's kind of coming over, which means that you got to undo the tension strap behind the handle because it's behind the handle. So now you have it concealed, and if you need it, you can get to it, right? So just for example, I can get to it pretty easily there. Now, I'm not going to resheath it here because of the whole sheath thing. I don't want to be stabbing pointy stuff down here. And not just for the reasons that you might think, but also because there's some arteries down there that are really you don't need to mess with. Okay, your femoral artery is down there, and it's not one you want to mess with. So to get this thing back in, you have to take it. Really, I would take it back out. The other problem with that is if I've got this tucked down inside my pants because of this sheath, if I'm bending over, running, moving, I'm concerned that this thing could get somehow bent or whatever, and that little thin plastic liner could fail, and this point could come through here and still start cutting stuff. So I don't like that inside with this sheath. So if we put it outside the pants, the only way I can think of really to conceal it, clean off the old Velcro there, would be like in a pocket. And then if you're wearing a shirt that doesn't tuck in, like I do typically, then you can directly cover it up, and it's there. And if you need it, you can either unsnap it, or you can leave it unsnapped, I guess, because it's pretty secure in the sheath. But it can definitely come out, but it's pretty secure. And if you need it, you can just get it, right? And if you need it, or you can get it, forward grip. You can even probably reach around with the other hand if you need it. So that would work, but I don't think that's optimal. So that's the biggest drawbacks to me from a defensive standpoint is the sheath. I think the knife itself would serve well. It's not the greatest steel, but it's also not that big a deal. I've said before and I'll say it again, I think way too much is made about steels to matter to most people. So, and if it's just something you're going to carry for defensive use and hopefully never even have to use it, as long as it's pretty sharp and pretty pointy, it doesn't really matter what steel it's made out of. You can even make one out of G10 and it'd be very effective. So that's it. That's as far as the pros and cons of the use as a defensive weapon. But as you know, here at Survival on Purpose, we are all about the science. And to that end, we maintain a state-of-the-art cutting-edge knife testing facility here at our worldwide headquarters. And one of the tests we like to do on every fixed blade knife is to test the aerodynamic balance using our balance, orientation, and rotation device. I think we should do that, don't you? And remember, proper scientific methodology is critical. Whoop, 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 whoop. Well, a little off target, we're going to count that one. Whoop, 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 whoop. Again. Whoop. Well, we're certainly getting a good toughness test here. At least the overmolded handle is not going to be loose, and the tip is still pointy. Okay, I need to get a little closer to you. Do you mind? Don't worry, I use deodorant. Okay, I'm gonna snuggle right up next to you. Don't let me step on your toe. That was the old boomerang throw. I sure hope you saw that one. Ooh, that's 4 in a row. We're gonna call this one done. Fully tested. Chuck Norris can remember the future. Alrighty, well that was hopefully a reasonably informative and somewhat interesting look at this SOG Nightshade dagger, which is basically a defensive / offensive knife. This is not a bushcraft knife. It's not a camping knife. It is designed as a weapon. So to be completely honest about that, and because it's double-edged, you may or may not be able to have this depending upon how communist of an area you live in. Pros and cons we went over. Is this a really good budget knife? Obviously, it's a good price, under 20 bucks right now on Midway. So, and it's a good feeling, good looking knife. Seems to be very well made. I don't have anything against the steel. I think their workmanship on this knife, the one I got, and I just bought this straight off the internet. Nobody sent me, they didn't send me this or anything. It's very, very well done. I like this knife, okay? I really like this knife. You knew I would when you saw it. This is the kind of stuff I really like. It's just got, it checks all the boxes as far as what you need for a defensive knife, except the sheath, man. The sheath, in my opinion, the sheath sucks. Let's just be straight about it. It's a cheap sheath. because they put the money in the knife, and it's an inexpensive knife to begin with, so there wasn't a lot of left over for a sheath. So if you are somebody who knows somebody that can do Kydex, or that could get a Kydex type sheath made for this, that would be really good. You could put a little ulti clip on it, and you could carry it in the waistband, out of the waistband, or whatever. You could carry it in a boot, wherever you want to carry it. But you're gonna, if you decide to get this for a defensive knife, just go ahead and plan that you're gonna need to get another sheath for it somehow, because the one they've got is really nothing but a blade protector to lay on the desk or in a box, in a drawer. So, but for the money, even if you have to pay for a sheath, I think it still could be a really good value and a very good choice for a defensive knife. So anyway, that's it. That's the SOG Nightshade, and I hope this video has been helpful. I really sincerely appreciate you watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'll see you next time.